So I think that was a defining moment to crown a legend, maybe of legends. So I wouldn't look at that as just 7 days and just another World Cup. It wasn't.
I agree with you. And here's what I think. This is a little bit of sports is a reflection of society. And in society right now, everything is binary. You got to be one side or the other, left, right, blue, red, blah, blah, blah. Both things can be true at the same time. Both guys, the caption says, did Messi deserve to win? Yeah, he deserved to win. Did Haaland deserve to win? Yeah, he deserved to win. So let's go into the structure of how they actually vote on these things. It's one journalist per country for, I think, like 100 or some countries. What factors into that when one person's representing the entire nation, essentially, what footballing journalists think about this, nostalgia plays a factor. Your heart and emotion plays a factor. We're human beings. This is seeing Messi at that level win that World Cup, to your point, in that final, which I think I'd argue that's the greatest sporting event I've ever seen, that final in that way, and for his team to prevail in the end, given how that all went down. For him to win that carries a lot of weight. But to your point, 38 goals, 25 assists, 2 other trophies that weren't the World Cup. If he didn't play the rest of the season for PSG, and then people wouldn't care. Like it wouldn't matter. Now I know he had issues there, and some of those trophies are about Inter Miami, and those can be written off as well. But he still was playing the game and playing at a very high level. Won in a top 5 league in Europe, also in the Champions League. Won in the MLS, which is obviously a step down. But the World Cup was the difference maker, and they both can be deserving. And I think in the end, there is a heart-wrenching piece of it. There's an element of us being humans that want to see Messi get that ball for the 8th time and walk off. And that's what happened. And I do think if Haaland was a little older, if Haaland was 31 at the end of his career and put up all these crazy numbers, it's a different discussion. He's 23, I think. So he's going to be there. And I would pose that next thought to you there, as Dan threw this out there. Bellingham, Mbappe, and Haaland, all with similar odds as you saw, between 3.5 to 4.5 to win it this upcoming year. Is this the passing of the torch to those 3, at least to this next year? And then, I mean, with all those guys sub 25, it could be the foreseeable future.
I think so, because I think, they're if you look at them, they're superstars in the making. The differentiation will be, because in the past, it was always Cristiano, Messi. I mean, there was an unbelievable history. There were legends. So part of it is like being a veteran. You've done it already. You've won it so many times, and yet you continue doing it. So I think when you vote, you go with that in the back of your mind. Well, this is Messi. This is Cristiano. Whereas here, it's a clean slate, isn't it, to some degree? Because you have all these young players, because they're all very, very young. And I think, obviously, there's no World Cup, although I do think that the European Championship may have to decide about this, because look at the start they're already in. Look at the seasons they're having. They're all scoring at will, 10, 11, 12 goals. Everybody's there, right? I mean, we'll get to him in a second, I suppose. But, I don't know if I put Harry Kane in there, but I wouldn't dismiss him. I would also probably, an outside looking in, because the season he's having and because of what's ahead, I think Lautaro Martinez may be within the shout there, because he's having a great great season. I think Inter will be in the conversation for the Champions League, just like they were last season. And isn't there Copa America next summer too?
Yes, it's in the States too.
So Lautaro could, we're talking European, let's not be European snobs here for a second, just for a second. But this would be big if Argentina wins this, and say Lautaro Martinez, with the help of Leo Messi, is the star of that tournament. So I would throw him in there. But I think, just looking at that, I think, again, I feel for Haaland. Maybe it may be decided between Kylian Mbappe and Jude Bellingham, because you have to feel that both France and England again will be kind of favorites to win the European Championships. But I think if Erling Haaland repeats or is very, very close, say they win the Premier League and they win the Champions League, and he continues to give the numbers, I think for what didn't happen this year, it'll happen to him next year.
That's right. I mean, we're having this discussion in November 1st, and how the season plays out has a huge impact on this. And also expectations of your individual club and how you perform in league matter. PSG is expected to win the title, and that they almost don't get credit for that. Same thing with Bayern. Bayern's expected, we're going to talk about that in a minute. Bayern's expected to win the Bundesliga for the 55th straight time, it feels like. they don't almost get credit for that. But if they make a run to a Champions League final, if they win the Champions League, and to your point, if Kane is outstanding within that run and in the run of league play, this whole equation is different. Mbappe the same way at PSG. I don't think that's exactly going to happen with them in the Champions League, but I think those same things play out, those factors. And where Haaland has the biggest upside, we're not playing in a European Championship. Norway, I don't think it's completely eliminated, but it's very, very unlikely that they're going to make this, is the fact that they do play in the best league, the most difficult watched league in the world. And if they have a fight down the stretch with Arsenal and or Liverpool and maybe even Spurs, and they prevail, and he is outstanding down that run again like they were last year, and they run to the Champions League final and win that again, that I think can carry enough weight to outsize not playing in in the Euros or in the Copa America, given how everything has to play out. All those factors, I think, come into this and give us a real context, whereas right now we don't have that context.
No, but what we have is a fresh start, that clean slate I was talking about, because this is outstanding. Cool. Look, I mean, it's far, because we've been saying now for a number of years, we're saying, my goodness, what's it going to be now with Ronaldo and Messi kind of leaving?
Janus, it's been 15 years, I think, 16 years between one of the two. Right. It's wild.
And but history teaches us that there's always somebody, and there was Pele and Diego Armando Maradona. I mean, Johan Cruyff was always a player that probably didn't get enough credit. I mean, how do you look at Beckenbauer as a defender? I mean, he was a massive name, great player, but as we know, defenders have a hard time in winning these sort of awards as well. So I think this is positive. This is great because, I don't know if they're going to reach the heights of, say, Cristiano Ronaldo and Leo Messi. But if you look at Mbappe right now, for me, he's the best player at this moment. And again, that's why I look at it differently. Titles are important, and that's why I said I would have been okay if Haaland won it, because he certainly proved it, winning these amazing titles and scoring and playing an important role. Remember, I mean, he was already doing that in the Bundesliga as even younger player than he already is, scoring at will. So this is not just a one-season wonder for him. But I look at somebody like Kylian Mbappe and think to myself, I had to pick one player right now, and you're not including, of course, the Messis or Messis and Ronaldos. I just think I go with Kylian Mbappe. So we'll see what happens.
I can't really argue with that because, again, if what you have done matters. He's already won a World Cup. It wasn't the past one. It was the one before that. He's already played in the Champions League final. He's been in another World Cup final. So Mbappe, he's been integral.
This is a young man that scored a hat-trick in a World Cup of said World Cup that Leo Messi did amazing things in those 7 games, right? So I think, as you said, he's already won a lot of trophies. He's going to continue to do it, and it's just a question of, how he navigates his career, right? Because his next step is going to be super important. Because if he does go, say, to Real Madrid, that in itself guarantees you the highest titles, the Champions League that evades him right now. So yeah, I mean, we'll be here talking about Haaland, Mbappe, and Jude Bellingham, who's is already at that big club and seems to be able to carry the weight of that shirt.
Yeah, no doubt. He did it again this weekend to Vinny's shot.
Give him a shout, Vinny. So
Vinny's in the Then these guys again are all very young players. Thank you, Jude Bellingham, for the late goal. That paid me quite a bit of money.